The end of the war with Iran could not be coming at a better time. A new Emerson poll that voters think the most important issue facing the country right now is the economy, which is not typically a good sign for the party in power heading into the midterms. The same poll found that if the midterms were held today, 50% of voters would pick Democrat candidates. NBC out with a similar poll yesterday. 49% of registered voters say they would vote for a Democrat and want a Democrat-controlled Congress. But the numbers are not overwhelming, and everything could be about to change. On Friday, the Iran peace accords are set to be signed. Patrick Alaco is the founder of the Zeus Political Index. We're also joined by pollster for American Pulse Research and Polling and the host of the Political Trade podcast, Dustin Olson. Dustin, great to have you with us. Patrick, good to see you. So this is, here we are, and it's so interesting to me because we almost don't talk about it because you're trained by the rest of the media to just knock the administration. Let's talk about today, where we are middle of June. The Dow set a record high today. People will say, well, not everybody's invested in the stock market. Well, a lot of people are. And if you believe trickle-down economics for a second, that's a good thing. Oil is at $81 a barrel right now. That's back to where it was on March 4th, a couple days after the war started. Gas prices have fallen almost every day for the last 2 weeks. Patrick, are we already in this Trump economic correction?
Yes, Rob, the correction has started. As you said, gas is falling. 401ks are at records. The job market just added 172,000 jobs last week, and you're starting to see that show up in the polling. Just look at the generic ballot this week. Reuters Ipsos, which is certainly not a friendly Republican poll, has Democrats ahead by only 3 points. Overall presidential approval numbers are stable. This is not a blue wave scenario. That tells me Republicans are still very much in this fight.
Dustin, how does the end of the war in Iran impact the midterms, in your opinion?
No, it's a big deal. I track this with the Harvard poll that Mark Penn runs, and I've been tracking the economic numbers in that. In about February, most of the economic trends for public opinion were moving into the right direction. Then the war happens, and things kind of fall apart. Yet Republicans and President Trump still were beating Democrats by about 6 points on who voters trusted on the economy. Until this last poll last week, it was up to only 2 points at that point. Now that this is getting fixed, though, I think we're going to be back to 6+ points, and going into the fall, most of the issues benefit Republicans.
Yeah, okay. So, Patrick, here's Harry Anton, Crazy Harry over on CNN, talking about this Democrat midterm lead. And again, you got to look at tea leaves when you're 5 months out. But here we are trying to read them. Take a look.
Democrats have an edge, but compared to what we see historically, it's really not that big of a lead. Look at this. They're up by 5 points, but that's half the lead they had back in 2018 when it was 10 points, and less than half the lead they had back in 2006 with 11 points when Democrats took back the House, and both of those.
Patrick, how do you read that?
Well, Rob, we're looking at a macro economy that's extremely strong right now, and you've got a gerrymandered House right now. The gerrymandering that we've got out there really favors Republicans, and I agree with Dustin wholeheartedly that right now what we're looking at is +6 Republican going into the fall here. I think it's going to be a win.
Yeah, Dustin, quick on that, and then I want to move on. But I was texting with Patrick over the weekend. I'm not a polling expert, right? You guys analyze the numbers. You spend your weekends looking at this stuff, okay? But I'll be honest. When I see that, things right now for Donald Trump, if you are the left, could not be any worse. But in reality, they're not that bad. They're not that bad, are they?
Yeah. And by the way, I think of most journalists I know, you're actually one of the best on polling. No, so you're absolutely right. In what Patrick was talking about, the way the House districts are right now, there's not a lot that's in play. And traditionally, Democrats have to lead the generic ballot by more than about 4 points to really start picking up seats.
Right.
So for so many different reasons, this is not going to necessarily be a great Republican year, but it's not going to be as bad as most of the historic trends.
Yeah, and it might not be apocalyptic. Who knows? We might be surprised. Patrick, I have like 20 seconds. I just got to ask you about this poll yesterday about the World Cup. I don't care about soccer. If the U.S. does well, I suppose I'll watch. But the first game was like 9 o'clock at night in Seattle. I live here in New York. Connecticut, technically. Only 22% of Americans are very interested in the World Cup. What do you think about that?
It's true. I mean, we actually threw a poll out there that had similar results, Rob. I can't speak. It's not resonating with Americans right now. And I was surprised at the results, to be honest.
Look at the number. Not interested at all. That's 45%. That's almost half of America not interested at all. And this is happening
not interested
here,
in absolutely
all over the country. I'm not interested. If the U.S. does something, I'll become interested, I suppose.
It's generation.
Yeah, exactly. Dustin Olson, Patrick Alaco, appreciate you being here on a Monday. Thank you. When we come back tonight, so the radical left tried to compete with Donald Trump in the UFC fight in the South Lawn of the White House. It did